The Nintendo Switch has been out for a while now, and honestly, its game library is stacked. We're talking legendary titles, hidden gems, and games that genuinely compete with any platform. Today we're counting down the 25 best AAA games on Switch. Let's get into it. Xenoblade Chronicles 2 is a massive JRPG set on the back of giant living creatures called Titans that float above a sea of clouds. You play as Rex, a young salvager who bonds with a legendary blade named Pyra, and together they go on this huge journey to find a paradise called Elysium. The world is enormous, like genuinely jaw-dropping, and each Titan feels like its own living ecosystem to explore. Combat is real-time, but layered with this deep system involving blades, which are special weapon spirits that each have their own personalities, skills, and side stories. You collect them, build parties around them, and chain attacks together in ways that take real time to master. The story gets emotional and epic, hitting notes that feel almost anime in the best way possible. It's not a short game, easily 80+ hours, but if you're into rich worlds and deep systems, this one sinks its hooks in and doesn't let go. Fire Emblem Three Houses is one of those games that makes you feel things you didn't expect from a strategy RPG. You play as a professor at a military academy called Garreg Monastery, and you have to choose one of 3 student houses to lead. Each house has its own cast of characters, its own story perspective, and its own path through the game's world. Outside of battles, you spend time at the monastery teaching students, building relationships, exploring, and making choices that actually affect how the story unfolds. The turn-based tactical combat is deep and satisfying, letting you customize your students into whatever classes you want. And the story, depending on which route you pick, goes places you genuinely don't see coming. The characters are some of the best written in any Nintendo game, and the way the narrative shifts between routes makes replaying it feel completely fresh. I'm getting Super Mario RPG is the remake of the 1996 SNES classic, and it holds up beautifully. It's a turn-based RPG where Mario teams up with an unlikely crew, including a villain, to stop a group called the Smithy Gang from taking over the world. What makes the combat click is a timed hit system, where pressing a button at the right moment during attacks and defense adds extra damage or blocks hits, which keeps every fight interactive instead of passive. The world is split into colorful locations that feel playful and inventive, and each area has its own personality. There's real charm here. The humor is light and fun, the characters are likable, and the whole thing moves at a great pace. It's not super long or brutally difficult, which makes it the perfect RPG for people who don't usually play RPGs. The remake adds updated visuals and arrangements without messing with what made the original special. Tears of the Kingdom takes everything Breath of the Wild built and goes even further with it. Link returns to Hyrule, but now the world has dramatically changed. Strange ruins are floating in the sky. There are deep underground caverns to explore, and the surface itself has been transformed by a mysterious phenomenon called the Gloom. The big new mechanic is Ultra Hand, which lets you attach objects together and build vehicles, machines, and contraptions from scratch. Combined with Recall, which rewinds an object's movement, and Ascend, which lets you phase through ceilings, the game gives you a toolkit that makes solving puzzles feel like genuine invention. The world is absurdly dense with things to do, people to meet, and shrines to tackle. The main story explores a deeper layer of Hyrule's history, and it's told in fragments that slowly build into something massive. Pikmin 4 is a strategy game that's way more approachable than it sounds. You crash land on a mysterious planet and recruit tiny plant-like creatures called Pikmin to help you explore, fight enemies, and carry resources back to your base. Each type of Pikmin has a different ability. Some are fireproof, some can swim, some hit hard, and managing them smartly is the core loop. The game adds Ochi, a dog companion you can ride and command, which makes exploration way more fluid. There's also a rescue mode that gives you freedom to approach each day at your own pace, without the brutal time limits the series used to have. The environments are richly detailed, and each area feels like a tiny alien world with its own ecosystem and secrets. It's one of those games that's genuinely relaxing to play, while still offering real strategic depth. Astral Chain is a fast, stylish action game from Platinum Games, the studio behind Bayonetta, and it has a concept that's genuinely unlike anything else. You're a police officer in a futuristic city under threat from creatures called chimeras. To fight them, you control a chained supernatural entity called a legion alongside your character simultaneously. You move your character with one stick and direct the legion with the other, using it to attack enemies, solve puzzles, interact with the environment, and chain opponents in place. The combat has real depth. Different legion types open up completely different approaches, and combining your character's attacks with the legions creates satisfying chain combos. Between missions, you investigate crime scenes, question witnesses, and do detective work around the city, which breaks up the action nicely. Metroid Dread is a side-scrolling action game, and a direct continuation of the main Metroid storyline. You play as Samus Aran, sent to investigate a planet where an unkillable robotic enemy called the Emmy is hunting her. The core loop is classic Metroid. Explore a large interconnected map, gain new abilities that unlock previously inaccessible areas, and piece together what's happening as you go. But Dread adds a tense stealth layer whenever you're in Emmy zones. You can't fight them, you have to run, hide, and use every tool available to survive. The movement is incredibly fluid, with a slide, phantom cloak, and melee counter that makes Samus feel athletic and precise. The bosses are some of the best in the series, hard, fair, and deeply satisfying to beat once you've learned their patterns. The story is told with minimal dialogue and hits its emotional moments hard. Luigi's Mansion 3 is one of the most purely fun games on the Switch. Luigi and his friends check into a seemingly luxurious hotel that turns out to be a massive haunted trap set by King Boo. Armed with his poltergust vacuum, Luigi sucks up ghosts floor by floor, while also calling on Gooigi, a slimy clone of himself, to reach spots he can't. The gameplay is built around exploration and puzzle solving, where each floor of the hotel has its own theme and a unique boss ghost to capture. Capturing ghosts involves stunning them, grabbing them with the vacuum, and slamming them around until they give up. It's hands-on and satisfying. The attention to detail in each floor is remarkable. The environments are creative, interactive, and full of little secrets. There's also a co-op mode and a multiplayer ghost hunting game baked in. Animal Crossing New Horizons drops you on a deserted island and lets you build it into whatever you want at your own pace on your own schedule. You collect materials, craft furniture and tools, invite animal villagers to move in, terraform the land, decorate every corner, and just live there. There's no rush, no fail state, no pressure. The game runs on a real-time clock, so seasons change, holidays happen, and daily surprises show up organically. Fishing, bug catching, fossil digging, talking to villagers, visiting other players' islands online. There's always something to do without any of it ever feeling forced. The customization is deep enough to satisfy people who want to spend hours on island design, but light enough that casual players can just vibe. It launched during a global lockdown and became a genuine social space for millions. Super Mario Bros. Wonder is the first all-new 2D Mario game in over a decade, and it comes out swinging. You pick from a big cast of characters and run through courses in the Flower Kingdom, where the Wonder Flower mechanic transforms each level in wild, unpredictable ways. Stages might flood with enemies, shift perspective, turn Mario into something completely different, or just go completely off the rails. Each level's Wonder sequence is a surprise, and they never repeat in the same way. The level design is inventive, creative, and packed with secrets and alternate exits. Badge power-ups let you customize how you play, adding abilities like a grappling hook or floatier jumps. The game has online ghost co-op, where you can see other players' ghosts in your levels and even revive each other, without it being intrusive. Paper Mario: The Thousand-Year Door is a remake of the beloved GameCube RPG, and it's one of the best remakes Nintendo has ever done. Mario arrives in Rogueport, a shady, lived-in town full of morally gray characters chasing after a treasure map that leads to a legendary door beneath the city. The turn-based combat uses a timed action system, where button presses during attacks and defenses give you extra hits or block damage, keeping every fight engaged rather than passive. The game has enormous personality. The writing is genuinely funny, the NPCs have real character, and the story goes to surprisingly dark and strange places for a Mario game. Each chapter takes you to a different, fully fleshed out location with its own gameplay hook and storyline. The remake upgrades the visuals significantly and adds quality of life improvements while keeping everything that made the original a classic. Super Mario Party Jamboree is the biggest and most feature-packed Mario Party game ever made. It has 22 boards, including returning fan favorites, plus a massive 20-player online co-opathlon mode, a rhythm minigame mode, and over 110 minigames total. The core board game formula is intact. You roll dice, navigate the board, collect stars, and sabotage each other through minigames and item chaos. But Jamboree adds the Jamboree Buddy system, which lets up to 4 extra players join a session as support characters who can tip the odds on minigames and events. The boards are bigger and more dynamic than in recent entries, with more branching paths and interactive elements. The minigame variety covers everything from motion controls to button mashing to puzzle solving. It's chaotic and unpredictable in exactly the way a good Mario Party should be. Xenoblade Chronicles X is a massive open-world RPG where humanity survives on an alien planet called Mira after Earth is destroyed. You create your own character and join a task force called Blade, exploring the planet's 5 enormous continents, each with distinct terrain, ecosystems, and dangers. The world is genuinely huge, and early on, much of it is off-limits because enemies wildly outscale you. As you progress, you unlock a giant mech called a Skell that transforms exploration and combat, letting you fly across the map, fight massive monsters, and navigate terrain that was previously inaccessible. Combat is real-time and layered, mixing arts, soul voices, and positioning into a system that rewards learning. The Definitive Edition adds new story content, a new party member, and quality of life improvements over the Wii U original.
Assault Hammer!
Kirby and the Forgotten Land is the first fully 3D mainline Kirby game, and it absolutely nails the transition. Kirby lands in a mysterious, abandoned civilization. Think a post-apocalyptic world with shopping malls and amusement parks reclaimed by nature, and has to rescue kidnapped Waddle Dees from a group called the Beast Pack. The classic copy ability system returns. Inhale enemies, steal their power, and use it throughout the level. But the new Mouthful Mode mechanic has Kirby inhaling massive objects, cars, traffic cones, vending machines, and using them to solve puzzles and fight in creative ways. The levels are dense with secrets, optional challenges, and collectibles, and each boss fight is a genuinely exciting encounter. There's a co-op mode where a second player controls Bandana Waddle Dee. It's one of those games that's accessible enough for young players, but has enough depth and challenge in its harder, optional content to satisfy experienced players too. Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition is the remaster of the Wii original, rebuilt from the ground up with a new visual style and an added epilogue chapter called Future Connected. You play as Shulk, a young man living on the back of a giant frozen god called the Bionis, who discovers a legendary sword called the Monado that gives him visions of the future. The ability to see and potentially change how battles unfold becomes central to both the story and the combat. The real-time battle system revolves around timing arts, chain attacks, and positioning, while managing your party across huge open zones that encourage exploration. The world is one of the most memorable in RPG history. Each region feels distinct and full of life, lore, and surprising depth. The story builds slowly into something emotionally massive, with revelations that genuinely reframe everything you've experienced. Link's Awakening is a remake of the 1993 Game Boy Classic, reimagined with a gorgeous toy diorama art style that makes the whole world look like a handcrafted miniature. Link washes ashore on Koholint Island after a storm at sea and has to find a way home by collecting 8 musical instruments scattered across the island. It's a top-down Zelda with a tight, focused design. Dungeons are clever and satisfying, the overworld is dense with secrets, and the story has a quiet, dreamlike quality that's unlike any other Zelda game. The remake adds a dungeon creator where you build custom rooms from pieces you collect, which adds replay value beyond the campaign. The new visuals are stunning. Every screen looks like it could be a figurine on a shelf, and the music is beautifully rearranged. It's not a long game, but every hour of it is deliberate and polished. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is the definitive version of one of the best Mario Kart games ever made. And with the Booster Course Pass, it now has 96 tracks, the biggest roster in the series. You race across colorful, wildly creative tracks while throwing items, dodging blue shells, and drifting for boost. The driving feels fantastic. There's real skill in mastering the drift boost system, item timing, and shortcut knowledge, while staying accessible enough for anyone to pick up and enjoy immediately. The battle mode makes a proper return, with arenas and multiple modes. Online play is smooth and has held a healthy population for years. The Booster Course Pass adds classic tracks from across the series' history, remastered and running at 60 frames per second. It's the game that's on every Switch, in every household, played at every gathering, for good reason. There's a reason it's the best-selling Switch game of all time. Super Mario Galaxy and its sequel are two of the greatest 3D platformers ever made, and having both on Switch is a genuine treat. The first game sends Mario across a universe of spherical planetoids, each with its own gravity rules, challenges, and visual identity. Running around a tiny planet, jumping between gravitational fields, and floating through space feels magical in a way that still holds up. Galaxy 2 takes everything further. Tighter level design, more creative ideas per level, Yoshi returning as a rideable companion, and a difficulty curve that pushes harder than the original. Both games use the gravitational gimmick in constantly inventive ways, and the music, performed by a live orchestra, is some of the best in gaming history. The Switch version runs at a smooth frame rate and looks beautiful on a TV or handheld. Bayonetta 3 is a high-octane, over-the-top character action game that does not hold back. Bayonetta returns to fight a new threat, artificial monsters called homunculi that are invading multiple dimensions, and this time, she can summon massive demons mid-combat to fight alongside her. The combat is fast, technical, and deeply satisfying, rewarding skilled play with high combo scores and stylish execution. The new Demon Slave mechanic lets you control summoned demons directly while your character dodges independently, adding a whole new layer of multitasking to the already dense combat system. The game jumps between timelines and lets you play brief sections as different Bayonetta variants, and a new character named Viola, who has her own playstyle. The bosses are enormous, cinematic, and demanding. Visually, it's among the most chaotic and expressive games on Switch. The story goes places that are genuinely wild, even by this series' standards. Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze is one of the best 2D platformers ever made, and it's not a close conversation. Donkey Kong's island gets frozen over by a group of Viking animal invaders, and DK, alongside Diddy, Dixie, and Cranky Kong, fights through 6 worlds of gorgeous, brutally designed platforming stages to take it back. Every level has a theme, a visual identity, and a rhythm. The soundtrack by David Wise is legendary, and it actively responds to what's happening on screen. The level design is imaginative and demanding, throwing clever challenges that build on each other in satisfying ways. Funky Mode adds a more accessible option with Funky Kong, who has extra abilities that soften the difficulty. The boss fights are spectacular set pieces. This is a game that respects your skill and rewards mastering it. Metroid Prime Remastered is one of the most impressive remasters ever made. The original 2002 GameCube game gets a full visual overhaul, new character models, reworked environments, modern lighting, while keeping the structure and feel of the original completely intact. You play as Samus, exploring the planet Talon 4 in a first-person perspective, investigating a space pirate base and uncovering the mystery of Phazon, a toxic substance corrupting the planet. The gameplay is built on exploration, environmental storytelling, and scanning. You scan everything in the environment to build up lore and understand your surroundings. Combat is precise and deliberate, and the boss encounters are legendary. Navigation through the interconnected world rewards memory and attention. The atmosphere is thick, and the world feels genuinely alien and dangerous. The remaster adds modern control options that make it the best way to experience the game.
Recording to logbook.
Super Mario 3D World is a hybrid platformer, somewhere between the 2D and 3D Mario styles, originally from Wii U, now on Switch, with online multiplayer and a brand new addition called Bowser's Fury. The base game has up to 4 players, running through creative, themed stages, collecting stars and power-ups like the catsuit, which lets everyone climb walls. Levels are tight, designed around both solo play and co-op chaos, and the variety is relentless. Every world throws something new at you. Bowser's Fury is a completely separate experience, an open world on Lake Lapcat, where a massive, corrupted Bowser periodically erupts and changes everything. The contrast between calm exploration and sudden, all-out chaos is brilliant, and the final confrontation is genuinely spectacular. Together, these two experiences offer something for every type of player: family-friendly multiplayer fun and a bold, creative solo experiment. Super Mario Odyssey is one of the best 3D platformers ever made, and it earns that confidently. Mario travels across bizarre, creative kingdoms, collecting power moons to rescue Princess Peach from Bowser's wedding plans. The central mechanic is Cappy, a sentient hat you throw to capture enemies, objects, and animals, taking control of them and using their abilities. Capturing a Tyrannosaurus Rex, a tank, a frog, a Goomba stack, the game is constantly handing you something new and letting you figure out how to use it. The kingdoms are sandboxes packed with secrets, challenges, and hidden moons tucked into every corner. The movement system is incredibly expressive. There are dozens of movement tricks to discover, and mastering them is its own game within the game. The post-game alone adds hundreds more moons and an escalating difficulty that serious players can dig into for hours. Breath of the Wild redefined what open-world games could be when it launched in 2017, and it still stands as a landmark. Link wakes up after 100 years of sleep with no memory, steps out into a ruined Hyrule, and is immediately given total freedom to go anywhere and do anything. The physics and chemistry engine underpinning the world lets you solve problems in an almost infinite number of ways, cutting down trees to bridge gaps, using magnetism to throw metal objects, setting fire to grass to create updrafts and paraglide across cliffs. The 120 shrines scattered across the map each present a focused puzzle or combat challenge that teaches mechanics without handholding. Climbing anything, cooking food, and creatively using the environment are at the core of everything. The world rewards curiosity. Every hill you climb, every strange landmark you spot holds something worth finding. Xenoblade Chronicles 3 brings together the threads from the first 2 games into something ambitious, emotional, and genuinely extraordinary. The world of Ionios is split between 2 nations, Keves and Agnes, locked in endless war. 6 soldiers, 3 from each side, are forced together and discover truths about their world that completely reshape everything they believed. The 6-person party system lets you build deep formations with interlocking roles, and the combat rewards learning synergies between classes and characters. Each of the main characters has a full arc. These aren't background members, they all matter. The world is massive, the side quests are proper story-driven chapters rather than filler, and the Nopon Arcsage side quests tie the whole Xenoblade universe together. The main story is paced like a great novel. It earns every emotional beat, and its finale hits with an impact that's rare in gaming.
Come here, I got something for you.
That's the top 25 AAA games on Nintendo Switch. Honestly, this console has one of the best libraries in gaming history, and this list barely scratches the surface. If your favorite didn't make it, drop it in the comments. Like and subscribe for more.